What's up everyone, King Crab's back again today with some Mono Fire. So this is definitely a type that I'm not the best at, I will admit that before going into this. I don't think it's even in the best position in the meta right now. But I did build a pretty fun Mono Fire team that I want to share with you today, so hopefully you do enjoy this. So let's look at the team. First off, we have a specially defensive Heatran, and Heatran is very important for dealing with things like rock types, for dealing with ground types as well, because we have Air Balloon, and just generally being a good specially defensive wall. It can do pretty good against things like Slowking, Slowbro, Toxapex, things that my team struggles with because we can taunt and shut them down, and potentially even Magma Storm. It's also pretty good against the likes of Chansey and Blissey from my experience. So we do run max HP, max special defense to get as much value out of my special defense stat as possible, and we don't have to invest too much in HP for this thing to be pretty strong. We actually run an air balloon to deal with the ground types, because other than that my team definitely struggles with ground types, and Flame Body is there to punish some physical attackers. As well as Flame Body, we have Scorching Sands, and Scorching Sands is really good to try and burn the opponent, especially physical attackers. If they want to try and attack me, they have to get through Flame Body and Scorching Sands, which can usually be pretty tough to get away without a burn. So next up we have Cinderace, and Cinderace is a Pokemon I used a lot in the previous DLC, especially once I got Libero. It's very, very strong. I'm not a fan of the Pokemon personally, but I'm going to sell out and use it because it's so good. So usually I'd go for a bulk up, Sucker Punch, Zen Headbutt, High Jump Kick build, but I decided I want to try something slightly different today, and hopefully it works out. We're still going for bulk up Sucker Punch, which is really good for covering a lot of Fire's weaknesses. For example, a Barraskewda in the rain, we can Sucker Punch them to remove our Fire weakness and potentially live in a waterfall. This is especially the case under Sun from Torkoal. We can live Vicious Wrens, waterfalls, or liquidations from Barraskewda and the likes. We have Pyro Ball, which I call one of the worst moves in the game, because for some reason, Pyro Ball always seems to miss for me. Hopefully it's going to behave in today's live, but in testing this move, probably missed 4 times out of 5, which is kind of crazy. And finally, we have Court Change. I've decided not to go for Defog or Rapid Spin on the team, or even actually any hazards myself. I've decided to go for Court Change, and the reason for that is I want to try and bait my opponent into stacking up loads of hazards on my sides, be it spikes, sticky webs, even screens on theirs, and try Court Change them over to mine, or over to theirs as it may be. It's really fun when it gets to work. Probably not the best move in the game, but it is very fun, and that's what the idea of this team is. We have leftovers for longevity, which is nice after I bulk up, especially with Sucker Punch. I can remove my fire weaknesses and potentially last quite some time. EV wise, we have max speed Jelly Nature with max attack, just to try and outspeed many threats in the tier, because this thing has fantastic speed tier, and with bulk up it becomes very, very strong afterwards. So next up we have Volcarona, and Volcarona is going to be my special kind of sweep Pokemon. It's going to be a late game sweeper, potentially with Quiver Dance. We can see here it's max special attack modest with max speed. So I didn't go for a plus speed nature because I feel like I want the extra oomph that plus special attack offers, and I might regret that with some of the things that can outspeed me. But at +1 or even +2 I can outspeed a lot of the tier, especially things like Arctozolt in Slush Rush or Arctovision Slush Rush as it may be. We outspeed Swift Swim Seismitoad at +2, so things like that are super important. Unfortunately, we're not going to outspeed things like Barraskewda because we need, I think, +3 or possibly +4 to be able to outspeed that. We actually do outspeed Kingdra +2 as well, which is pretty nice. Item wise, it's going to have heavy duty boots, which is super important because we don't want to take in too much damage from Stealth Rocks, and I don't have the best hazard control in this team, so I want to protect that as much as possible. Moveset wise, we have Fiery Dance, and I chose Fiery Dance over Flamethrower because I am modest. I don't need that extra 10 base damage, I feel, and I'd rather have Fiery Dance in the sun. It's plenty strong enough to KO so many things, and it can also raise your special attack a stage, which makes this thing even more threatening. We have Giga Drain, and Giga Drain is super important for ground types, rock types, water types, especially when boosted. Volcarona can potentially sweep through those teams if played right. And finally Psychic, which is super important for poison types, namely the dreaded Toxapex, who can otherwise give my team a lot of trouble. Next up we have Blacephalon, and Blacephalon is going to be a Choice Scarf sweeper. With Choice Scarf, it has a pretty decent speed tier. It's just a few points short of what I would like personally, because it's still slower than things like Terrakion, and Choice Scarf Terrakion is super, super scary for my team. I have to use Blacephalon and Heatran very well together to take on Choice Scarf Terrakion, so let's hope we don't run across any of them. Moveset wise, we have Flamethrower. Again, in the sun, Flamethrower is super strong, especially coming off my very respectable 401 special attack. Next up we have Shadow Ball, which hits anything that Flamethrower generally doesn't hit pretty strong. As well as that, it can be great as a momentum for later in the game, especially if Pokemon are weakened by maybe their own hazards from things like Court Change. Next up we have Psyshock, and Psyshock is super important for poison types, especially Nihilego. Choice Scarf Nihilego can destroy my team. Thankfully, Psyshock can generally one-hit KO it. I think it's maybe 87.5% of the time, off the top of my head, which is guaranteed after a Stealth Rock chip, which is pretty good. And finally, a trick to try and just destroy stall Pokemon, maybe Toxapex, Chansey, Slowbro, things like that do not want to be tricked to Choice Scarf. We have that as a last-ditch effort. Next up we have Victini, and Victini is so strong. With Choice Band and Max Attack, Jolly Nature, we have a decent speed tier, and our bulk is actually respectable too, at 341 and 236, 237 bulk. We can live a lot of attacks, especially in the sun. Water attacks don't generally want to KO us. We have Choice Band to hit just shy of 450 attack, which is pretty good coming off my V-Create. Now I want to stress, V-Create does not KO opponents, V-Create deletes opponents in the sun. This thing is 180 base stab, further boosted by the sun, coming off a Choice Band 100 base attack. This thing is ridiculously strong. I'm pretty sure in the sun it can 2-hit KO things like physically defensive Slowbro, which should just go ahead and show you how strong this thing really is. But for things like Slowbro and Toxapex, we do have Ball Strike. Ball Strike also hits things like Moltres super effectively, which is nice, because Moltres can be a bit annoying for the team at times. We have U-Turn to grab momentum, especially because so many opponents do not want to stay in against a potential Choice Band V-Create, so U-Turn is quite nice to grab momentum. And finally we have Zen Headbutt, which is nowhere near as strong as V-Create. In fact, I think it's weaker, unless it's super effective, than V-Create, even if V-Create's not very effective. But Zen Headbutt's still really good for hitting things like Toxapex mainly, which is super good, or in certain clutch moments where V-Create might not win a KO, I can still potentially fish for a flinch chance, which can be the difference in the game. Victory Star is also really good, as it multiplies my accuracy by 1.1, making Zen Headbutt 99% accurate, V-Create I think 99 point something, 99.5 or something, and Ball Strike is at 2.5 off the top of my head. My maths is probably very wrong there, but it makes these a lot more accurate than they look, because otherwise they're not terribly reliable. And finally we have Torkoal with Heat Rock. And the reason I went for Heat Rock over something like Heavy Duty Boots is because we have Court Change on Cinderace. As I said, I want that to be my main form of hazard control. So I'm going for a Body Press, Yawn, Lava Plume, Rest build. Let me explain this because it's a bit strange. So this should be plus defense actually. My bad. So Body Press is really good against things like rock types, for example, even steel types like Heatran who can otherwise wall out fire attacks. Body Press is quite nice coming off a 4-1-16 physical defense, which is pretty respectable. We have Yawn to deal with most threats I don't want to stay in against, or most threats that want to swap in on Torkoal. We can Yawn them, and again potentially rack up some damage with Cinderace's Court Changed hazards. We have Lava Plume to potentially spread burns, which is pretty good, especially on physical attackers, because then they'll be doing even less damage on Torkoal after his respectable defense stat. And finally we have Rest. And Rest is a strange one, but the reason I have Rest is against a lot of physical attackers, I can actually rest up on their face, which lets me swap in again later in the game and get my Sun back up. Which is super important for the team, as I want as much damage as possible with Sun boosted, and I have no other water checks such as Volcanion, so the Sun is my best option for those. With Drought it'll last 8 turns, which is pretty nice. So before I go into some games, I want you to post down below in the comments who's your favourite fire type Pokemon. Mine is quite close, I would almost say Torkoal, but Camerupt is my all-time favourite Pokemon, so I'm going to have to give it to my boy Camerupt. And with that, I will pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Poison. Now in this game, Nihilego is a huge threat to my team, so I definitely want to keep things like Heatran, Volcarona and Blacephalon pretty safe for the end game. I think I'm actually going to open Victini, and hope they don't open up with Nihilego and just try to go for a sweep turn 1. So with Victini, I can potentially get a KO early on with V-Create, or if I read the packs coming in, I can go for Ball Strike. I do like Blacephalon a lot in this game, especially to be able to click Psyshock when Drapion is dead. It outspeeds Nihilego, and I think one hit KOs it, which is pretty good. So they open up a Nidoking, and I'm just going to go straight for a V-Create. Now they can easily swap into Pex, but this still does a decent chunk of damage regardless, which is pretty good for me. I don't think anything else on their team necessarily swaps into V-Create. That did okay damage, and that's definitely physically defensive. So I think here, I need to keep Heatran alive. I go into my Volcarona. Or should I go into my Cinderace? No, because I have nothing to touch this. Part of me wants to go into Heatran and try and trap this, but I don't think it's the play. Because I need to keep Heatran healthy to deal with the likes of Nihilego. So I'll go to Volcarona here. They might T-Spikes, as they actually go for a knockoff. It does not burn them, unfortunately. I'll click Psychic. They might go into Drapion, which would be a good play. In which case, I think I take in my Torkoal, as I get a nice chunk of damage off. So we're going to Fiery Dance this turn, expecting Drapion to come in, or should we just Quiver Dance? No, Fiery. As Crobat comes in, interesting. And we got a decent chunk of damage off on that. I think I can go Torkoal on the bat. As they Toxic. Now, off this, I'm going to go into Victini. And click V-Create again. In this position, I think this gets a KO. They can U-turn into Toxapex, but it's still 2-hit KOs it. I believe it 1-hit KOs Nihilego as well. Even though they will both resist, just because this thing is so strong. V-Create is insanely powerful. They give me a Drapion, which is so good for my Nihilego, and sorry, my Blacephalon in the endgame. Now all I have to particularly worry about is Slowking. They take a Nidoking. They probably Earth Power here, so I'll go into Heatran. They Stealth Rock, good play. In this position, I can click Magma Storm, and assuming it connects, it should pick up a KO. Nice. So that's another huge threat to my team gone. I don't particularly care for the Stealth Rocks because I can Core Change them away. As Pex comes out. I think I'll use this opportunity to Core Change because I don't see Cinderace having too much of a role in the endgame. Take those rocks from me, thank you. Now the question is, how do I do with Pex? And I guess it's Zen Headbutt on Victini. So we'll go hard at Victini here, on a Scald. And we start clicking Zen Headbutt, which does a decent amount of damage. Now unfortunately Knockoff sucks for me. But I mean, Zen Headbutt's still really good. Flinch. Yes. That's just what you want to see. I'll click Zen again. Assuming it connects, it should get a KO here. Now they can probably go into Nihilego, which is still a threat to my team. But I'll give them Heatran. I don't think this can one-hit KO Heatran. No, that does nothing. I'm gonna click Scorching Sands here. Actually, I think... yeah, I'll click Scorching Sands. As Slowking comes in. Honestly, damage on Slowking is so good for me, especially if they let me Magma Storm this. Because this opens up Blacephalon so much in the endgame. I just let KO this. I think in this position, Blacephalon just wins with Psyshock. I'll Taunt Pex. Just so they can't try and recover in my face. And we'll Scorching Sands here. That's okay. Now the question is, does Blacephalon KO Nihilego? And I'm almost certain it does. 98 to 116. After chip, yes, definitely. So, just to make 100% sure, I want to Taunt, I think. Go into Blacephalon and get the KO that way. So I sack myself to Scald. This just means I'm +1 on the Nihilego, so even if for some reason specially defensive, I still score the KO. And this KO is Toxapex for sure. They can swap out, but I think +1 after Stealth Rock Chip will KO. If not, I can just swap around into Victini, trick this, or Choice Scarf. and win with Volcarona. GG. So that was a pretty close game. Honestly, it looks like it wasn't because I have so many Pokemon left, but Nihilego is such a threat to my team, so getting rid of that was super handy for me. And with that, we'll pause and be right back. So we have a game here against an opposing Mono Fire player. In this game, definitely have to worry for Heatran. Blacephalon can also be a bit of an issue for my team. I think... Darmanitan is a huge issue, but I think I open Victini as they open up at Heatran. And I think I just U-turn and break their balloon turn 1, if at all possible. As they go into Incineroar, that's okay. The crit is huge there for me. It definitely is. I think I'd go into Torkoal and click Body Press. Now this does invite in Blacephalon, but as long as I can keep my Cinderace healthy, Blacephalon isn't too much of an issue. So that is a big KO for me turn 2. The reason Cinderace is so important against Blacephalon is because I do have Stab Sucker Punch. I do have to worry about Darmanitan, which is why I think I want to keep Torkoal relatively healthy. I think I'd go into Heatran here. Hopefully this doesn't open me up for a sweep. We'll just click Scorching Sands. Actually, do I value this being awake? Not particularly, because I think then I can set up my Volcarona. But then their Heatran's an issue for me. So yes, I think I do actually. I'll go Blasef here. With their Incineroar dead, Blasef is so much better in the endgame. We'll click Shadow Ball. Nothing particularly wants to swap in, because if Heatran does, I actually break their balloon. I get a crit on the Torkoal, which again is massive for me. I'm definitely getting quite lucky against my opponent, as this kind of forces them, I think, to take in either their Cinderace and Sucker Punch me, or their Blacephalon and try win a speed tie, which is not at all reliable. Do they bulk up? I'm going to go to Torkoal here. I don't particularly need my Sun in the endgame, I feel. And we're going to click Yawn. And just try and force this to swap out. High Jump Kick won't do too much damage to me. Now the question is, what do they swap into? I think I click Yawn again. And the reason for this is I want to force them into opportunity where they either go into Blacephalon or go into Heatran or Cinderace and take a lot of damage. So they unfortunately missed a Rock Slide, which is huge for me. Okay. I know they're locked into that now, so I'm going to go into Cinderace and try Bulk Up. Unfortunately, if they wake up this turn, I've just thrown the game. If Rock Slide KOs. Okay, I think I might have thrown the game in favour of Blacephalon, which was a terrible play on my end, I'll be honest. But this does open me up to click Shadow Ball here. Actually, maybe my Heatran can live Blacephalon. So maybe it wasn't a complete throw. Their Heatran is still a big issue for me. I think Victini's going to have to do quite a lot in the endgame. So the fact they have Stealth Rocks up on my side and I don't is really unfortunate, and to be fair, it was my fault. I guess the better play there might have been to Sucker Punch. I'll Shadow Ball again, as I did not expect them to Sucker Punch. Unfortunately, they do live, which is not good for me. They Sucker Punch this turn, I think, so I'm going to go to Volcarona. And hope I live a Pyro Ball, which I probably don't. Nope, I do not. And Torkoal definitely dies too. This is really bad for me. So I'm going to have to trick this onto Sucker Punch, hopefully. And I get their heavy duty boots, which is quite nice, so I can save Blacephalon for the end game. I sack Torkoal here. For sure. No, I could rest and get this healthy again, but it offers me no protection against things like Heatran or Persephone. I'll yawn. And I'll continuously yawn. Okay. So here I think I go into Victini. My Heatran is so important in the endgame against their Blacephalon. So all I need to do here is break their air balloon. Now the question is, do I value my Victini at all? No, I don't think I do, because it loses to both Blacephalon and Cinderace, so I'll click Ball Strike. And I can save Torkoal for a sack for later on. They get a first turn wake unfortunately, but they don't KO me, and Ball Strike, assuming it's not a dirty roll, should KO. Nice. Now, as I said, it does open up Blacephalon in the endgame, but what I'm going to do is sack my Torkoal to the rocks and take in Heatran. Because I should easily be able to live Shadow Balls. And we'll just click Scorching Sands and hope this 2-hit KOs, or I can survive multiple attacks. Yeah, that does nothing. Now the Cinderace is still tricky for me in the endgame. It's far from 1. They have to click Pyro Ball, I think. And the question is, does Pyro Ball win a KO Blacephalon? Let's find out. Do I taunt just in case they try Sucker Punch? I think I do. Actually, no, there's no way I live a Pyro Ball, but they could miss. But if they Sucker Punch, I think they win the game. So I taunt into Blacephalon and hope I live this, which I probably don't, because Blacephalon is so frail. They could miss as well. GG. I think I lose this, assuming they connect. They had actually ended up forfeiting, and I think maybe I would have died there. Let's check. Cinderace, Monotype offensive, Pyro Ball against Blacephalon. Yeah, that would have KO'd, assuming they connected. So they shouldn't have forfeited there, but we'll take that victory. Kind of undeserved, because I played really bad with my Cinderace. I could have won that endgame a lot easier if I was smarter, but with that, we'll pause and be right back. So we have a game here against Mono Water, and it is a rain team, which is going to be extremely difficult for my team. I think Volcarona's Giga Drain and Psychic have to work overtime here, and potentially Victini can do a lot of work too. So we're actually going to out of Victini here. As they probably open up with... Oh, they open Seismitoad. Okay. I need Victini healthy, so I think I U-turn. On the Pelipper coming in. And that does no kind of damage. This does open me up to click Shadow Ball here. And if I get rid of the Rain Setter, it's a lot easier for me in the endgame. They U-turn. Interesting. Into Toad. That is Swift Swim. And I think it's a physical Swift Swim based on their team, so Torkoal should live. As they are actually a special Swift Swim. Ooh, not good. So as I said, Volk has to work overtime here, I think. If they let me swap set up, it can be very dangerous. I think I have to Quiver Dance again as Kingdra comes in. Though if they are Aqua Jet on the likes of Urshifu, it's very bad for me. There's no way I survive Specs in the rain. And I don't think Psychic win a KOs either. Nowhere near. Ah. Not good for me. So the fact I lost my Torkoal to a special Seismitoad is very, very bad. They pretty much just get to clean up KOs here. I go into Ace and U-turn. Sorry, Victini and U-turn into Cinderace. And the reason for this is I can at least Sucker Punch the Kingdra. Seismitoad comes in. I don't really see a way where I can outstall their rain turns and win. Does this do a KO? It does. Not bad. Now, unfortunately, Pex is still a huge issue for me. This is Jet. For sure. I'll Pyro Ball just in case I can burn it. Oh, it's Choice Scarf. Okay, that is game, I think. There's no way Psyshock can somehow pull out a win here. Unless maybe I crit. Come on, crit Psyshock. Nope. If it crit, I don't think it would have KO'd. It might have been a high roll, and then potentially I could have won, but the odds were very much against me. GG. Well played my opponent's side, and with that we'll pause and be right back. So we have another game against Mono Water, which is kind of unfortunate because this time they have Barraskewda, which is arguably even more threatening for my team. They probably open up with their Pelipper, so I'm going to open up Victini here, as they open up Seismitoad as well. I'm going to Zen Headbutt turn 1, as I think I value damage on Seismitoad a lot, and the flinch there is huge for me. They go into Pelipper. They don't take too much damage. I don't think Scald will one-hit KO me, so I'll Zen again. On physical attackers like Urshifu and Barraskewda, I think I can go into my Torkoal. And if they take out a special attacker here like Kingdra, I think I just have to sack. They're taking Barraskewda. I believe Torkoal lives, because the sun will actually weaken the water damage. As they Waterfall, which, that did nothing. How is Barraskewda so... I mean, how is Torkoal so bulky? Crazy. The question is, do they go back into their Pelipper here? A part of me wants to go into my Heatran, as they go into Pelipper. I don't have much... I'll Flash. I don't think it KOs. But I should outspeed, if they're min speed, which they generally are. I feel a lot of water teams run a bulky slow Pelipper. They go into Slowking. Good play. That's going to wall me for days. I'll taunt just so they can't teleport out and gain momentum. And it's possible they do not run any water moves. Unlikely, but possible. As they do indeed run Scald. That makes sense. We'll fish for the burn here. So potentially here I can take in Volcarona and set up. But I'm going to take in my Blacephalon and click Shadow Ball. This should KO, I think. Or 2-hit KO. And it puts them in a position where they're going to have to soon sack their Pelipper. They teleport out. Good play. That 8. That is so defensive. They're taking Barraskewda. I don't know if I want to KO this. I don't think so. Shadow Ball. 81% chance. I like those odds. No! That's such a dirty roll for me. That's so sad. I would rather it did min damage at 96. The 99 is just insulting. So I think I take in my Victini here and U-turn. It should do a chunk of damage on anything. It KOs Slowking. It KOs Seismitoad, I believe, which are my two most important ones I want to KO here. And I'm taking Volcarona. The reason for this is I do outspeed Kingdra, and if they go into Pelipper, I can go into Torkoal. Sorry, if they go into Barraskewda, I can go to Torkoal. I live, but at what cost? Now the question is, do I value Victini or Volcarona more in the endgame? I definitely value Cinderace to Sucker Punch. I think it's Volk I value. So I'll go to Victini here and sack it. To a Waterfall. And maybe I can do some work. Oh, they actually give me Seismitoad. So they want to keep their Barraskewda alive. This lets me take an ace. And I should outspeed anything they throw my way. Unless, of course, it's Choice Scarf Hershey. They go to Pelipper. There's no way Pyro Ball KOs here. I'll bulk. This endgame got very tough for me. If they Hurricane here, great play. If they go into Urshifu, it can be bad for me too. They go into Kingdra. Now I definitely died to this, but Sucker should do some decent damage. It was okay. I go into Torkoal. I sack Victini. If Pelipper comes out a U-turn, and I go into Volcarona here, and I just hope they're not Aqua Jet. I mean, very unlikely that they're not. Do I Quiver? Yeah, I think my players hope they're not Aqua Jet. Which, as I said, is quite unlikely. I like Giga Drain here. Barraskewda still outspeeds me, and honestly probably when it KOs me. It will outspeed me even at +2. That thing is so fast. Unfortunately, again... Oh, did they... Why did they sack their Urshifu? Was that a throw? No. Because I go into Torkoal here. And they always go back into Pelipper. If they stay in and don't KO, I think they just threw, but they should always go into Pelipper here. On the off chance, yeah, okay. It came down to literally 1%. The unfortunate roll on the Shadow Ball and Blacephalon. It really came back to haunt me. GG. Well played on my opponent's part, and that will be right. So we have a game here against Mono Dragon, and Mono Dragon is definitely a threat to my team. Garchomp and Dracovish are massively tough for my team to deal with. I think I open up Torkoal and try Yawn turn 1 if they decide to open up with Garchomp. Now, as they open up with Pult, this looks like it's a... I honestly can't tell. If I was to guess, it's a physically attacking Pult. So I'll Yawn. As they Dragon Dance. We're going to Victini here. I think Victini is mostly useless in this game, as Turtonator comes out. Now unfortunately V-Create is quarter by effective, so we'll just Zen. I think Cinderace is my best odds at winning this game, but even then it's going to be quite tough. That did no kind of damage, and they're Iron Defense. What kind of crazy set is this? We'll go on Blasef here, and try Shadow Ball. Now they can easily take Gudra and wall me out completely. That did nothing. I'll go Victini. As Pulse doesn't do too much. Honestly, I'm just going to click V-Create here. Or actually, is Zen Headbutt stronger? No, because we have the Sun. So V-Create is still stronger. That's just how crazy it is. That did so much damage against Garchomp. Wow. I have no shame in clicking it again. I don't want this thing SD in my face. I don't want it rocking. And here I can get in my Blacephalon. But they probably go into Gudra. So the question is, do I Shadow Ball? I'll Psyshock. As that should do a decent bit more damage. That was quite strong. This is a roll. Is it a roll I'm willing to take? You know it is. Nice. So we get the KO, and it puts me in a decent enough position where Shadow Ball is much, much stronger in the endgame. They go into Vish. I always go Torkoal here to get the Sun up to slightly suppress the damage of Vicious Rend. That's Scarf damage. A part of me wanted to sack my Heatran to try and burn, but I have to go into Cinderace here and click Sucker. This weakens it so much because it's Sun as they go into Turtonator. I'll go Blacephalon again. I think I need to keep my Cinderace healthy for Garchomp. And I think Blacef is still looking pretty good in the end game. They go Pult. I mean, I'll click Shadow Ball. Are they Sucker? They won't Sucker Punch. I'm calling their bluff. Now this position, +1 Shadow Ball is really good for me. As long as I can work around Garchomp and Dracovish, I'm willing to Shadow Ball sack this. And I get the crit, which is huge for me. Wow. This opens up the Cephalon so much in the endgame, as my opponent disconnects. So I will pause and be right back in case they don't come back. So we have a game against Mono Electric. In this game, I value Volcarona so much, as well as Blacephalon. I do have to worry about their Alolan Raichu, but Cinderace is pretty good against that. So I'm going to open a Victini here, just to try and melt something turn 1. They go Tapu Koko. I am just going to click Recreate and get a KO. Give me that Koko. So they ran out of electric terrain now, which actually makes Raichu so much easier to deal with in the endgame, which is really good, as they go hard into it. Do I value Torkoal? I do. Do I value Heatran? No, not really. I think. And I definitely value Victini still to melt Zapdos potentially. Now Rising Voltage will probably KO me here, because it's much stronger. As they Focus Blast and actually miss out on the KO, which is crazy. Not bad. So do I go into Cinderace here and click Sucker Punch? I do, because they still outspeed me. And this way I can waste their electric terrain. Rotom Wash is still kind of annoying for me in the endgame, as they take in Zeraora. I'll just straight up Pyro Ball here, as they go into Zapdos. That is offensive. That did way too much damage. So Rotom Wash comes in, we go Torkoal to try and nerf their Hydro Pumps, as they actually Volt Switch. Zone comes in, we can Plume. I don't even die. And now Blacephalon looks crazy strong in the endgame. As does my Volcarona, to be honest. I'll go in Blacef. I'll click Shadow Ball. The reason I'm clicking Shadow Ball over Flamethrower, actually is Flamethrower stronger? It's not very effective on Rotom, that's the only problem. And I'm pretty sure +1 Shadow Ball will still KO Zeraora. It's quite frail. Pump will not KO me, not in the sun. Not based on the damage it did to Torkoal. So with that, I think it's going to be a quick GG, and we'll pause and be right back. So here we have my team's worst nightmare, Mono Rock. I honestly think this team has a harder matchup as Rock than it does Water, because I chose to forego High Jump Kick on Cinderace, which obviously I'm now regretting. Here, I think I'm going to open a Victini, and just again try get a KO turn 1, or do as much damage as I can turn 1 with U-turn. That did nothing. They Rocks, I think. I'll take in Cinderace. Oh, they're especially offensive. That's crazy. Okay. I value Cinderace too much in the endgame, I think. Huh. I'm going to have to try set up with Volcarona, but it's not going to be easy to get +2 in their face. I guess I just sack Cinderace here, as they let me do a decent chunk of damage on Cradily. I mean, I'll take more damage. I need to get in a position where I can Quiver Dance up on something's face, which might actually be Cradily. So we're going to go into my Volk here. We'll Quiver Dance. If they let me get +2, it's actually crazy good for me. They go straight into Nihilego. They want to KO me, surely. I'm not Volcarona, so... There they go, Choice Scarf Power Gem at +1. 108 to 127. Are they Power Herb? I don't think Psychic even want to KOs anyways, so... Even if they were Power Herb, it's no good to me. I'll sack my Ace and see what they do. As they are Meteor Herb in the end. Huh. In this position, though, I do outspeed with Blacephalon, and Psyshock is pretty strong against them. I think that might be the play. I click Psyshock here. If they go into Tyranitar, great play. I think if they go T-Tar, I sack Victini. And try set up again with Volcarona. Now if they're Power Herb, does Power Gem even KO? Volcarona +1 Power Gem. And it won't be max, it'll be like 334. It's still a 1 KO. Unfortunately. So the reason they're 334 is because they probably want the speed boost from a KO. If they're smart, they'd go into T-Tar here, so I'll go Victini. Where's the Leech Seed? That's a bold play. It's not necessarily a bad play, because they could have lived. And they probably predicted me to swap out. I'll try U-turn here. My Blasef is still quite strong in the endgame. I don't care, I U-turn. This KOs, if it hits. And maybe by some miracle, Torkoal can do a Terrakion or Stakataka. Though it's going to be very scary. So in all honesty, my Volcarona Torkoal should probably be min speed to deal with opposing Trick Roomers. So I might try that. As they give me chip on Nihilego. And that's chip I actually need on Nihilego too. So I'll take a Heatran here. Click Flash Cannon. It should do some decent chip to anything coming out. And we'll pop any air balloons on something like Stakataka. I think T-Tower is the correct play. Unfortunately for them I crit, which is super good for me. Tarak comes in. Probably clicks Close Combat. As they click Stone Edge. And I do not KO. If I live Stone Edge, there is maybe hope for me. As they crit, how unfortunate. And they outspeed. Torkoal can still potentially live and click Body Press and get the KO. This live, it's super defensive. They go into Cradilly. And I don't outspeed this. This endgame got really tough for me. I don't think there's a way I can win unless they miss with Tarak. A part of me wants to sack this and try to set up a Volcarona. But their Nihilego still wanna KOs me, I believe. I'll just U-turn. Get my KO. I guess I could play off Tarak not being Scarf. But there's no reason for it not to be Scarf. It's certainly not banded based on the damage it did to Heatran anyway. So sad that crit. I mean, it might have KO'd anyway. It was definitely a roll. Miss. Miss your Stone Edge. As the Earthquake could play. And I still lose to this. Unfortunate game. But that's definitely going to be a loss for me, I think. Unless they don't run Power Gem. In which case I have hope. Because I could still miss Stone Edge. This should KO. Should I have... Probably should have... No, there's no way. Meteor Beam would destroy me, even at +2. Meteor Beam, yeah, it would have destroyed me. Whew. So I think I have to go off some crazy misses here. As they Trick Room. Come on, miss your Stone Edge. Even better, don't run Stone Edge. It's going to be a tough endgame. And I definitely have to rely on RNG, I think. They don't run Stone Edge. Is there hope for me? Yes? No, because Rhyperior probably just KOs me. I sack Victini. Take in my Torkoal. Yawn and hope I live. I outspeed because I'm slower. No, I end up losing. GG. So I just figured I lost there, but that was a pretty close game. A good game my opponent's part. There's no way I survived this. And with that, we'll pause and be right back. So we have a game against Mono Ground. In this game, Zygarde is quite threatening because it probably has 1000 arrows. And though I may be able to outspeed a lot of my opponent with Blacephalon, I'm going to open a Victini here, as they open up Atlando. I think I just V-create turn 1 anyway. They're not Choice Scarf, and unfortunately I just about miss out on the KO. Is there Citrus Berry? Interesting. I mean, this does kind of open Blacephalon a bit. I'll click Shadow Ball here, and it should do a chunk of damage. I'm not too worried about Sand Rush and Excadrill because I can override Sand with my Torkoal. And potentially Sucker Punch is really good in the endgame as well. They go into Hippo. I'll go into my Heatran here, as they might end up Earthquaking. If they Rocks, it's fine too. My Cinderace can always swap them back. And we're going to go for a Magma Storm here. As they Whirlwind me out into Blacephalon, which is actually kind of ideal. Because Shadow Ball picks up a KO on this, otherwise they have to swap out and take a lot of damage on something. They go into Exca. I mean, I just go into Heatran here, right? They can't EQ me. They Iron Head. And run the risk of getting burnt. Are they Choice Band is the question. I'll click Magma Storm. Does a nice bit of chip to Seismitoad. Thanks to the burn. And the question is, do I value Heatran at all in the endgame? I don't think I do. I think Blacephalon's my biggest asset in the endgame. I'll Scorching Sands. As I actually outspeed. Wait, I should have calced this kill. It might not. Seismitoad. Let's just say it's Max Bedef for argument's sake. Shadow Ball at +0. 33 to 39, so that was a very bad play on my part. I'm actually going to go into Volk here. Just in case. And click Giga Drain. As they give me Lando. Not bad. The question is Zygarde Focus Sash? If it is, it's very bad for me in the endgame. I think I value my Volcarona still. A little bit. Though I don't see myself valuing Torkoal too much. Zygarde comes in. I'll go Torkoal here. Potentially being able to break its Sash. As they missed their Stone Edge. Unfortunate for them. We'll Body Press. As they missed twice. Very, very unfortunate for them. I mean, I honestly don't think it does too much to Torkoal. Okay, actually 2 hit KOs. They go into Exca. I'll Plume. No, I'm pretty sure Blacephalon outspeeds. Assuming this isn't Sash. Click Flamethrower. The reason being, in the sun, it's super strong. You don't live this. Not in the sun, not a +1, I think. Even if it does, my ace is still super good in the endgame. I think this one it KOs. I'm pretty sure Mamoswine is banded. Yes, that is banded damage for sure. And there's no way Toad lives as well. So with that, we'll pause and be right back. So that is going to be it from me from Mono Fire. I will own up to the fact I made some serious misplays. It's a type I'm honestly not very good at. I'm definitely trying to improve. That said, I still had fun using it, and I definitely feel like I had some fun tech. Like, Victini is just so fun to use. I think my Blacephalon did some good tricks. I didn't get too much value out of Volcarona for most of the games, but sometimes it worked in my favour. Now, I will admit, my Cinderace I played terribly. I took way too many risks with Cinderace, and it wasn't the best Cinderace set I've used. I think I prefer my one from previous generations Mono Fire, but I just wanted to use something different and keep things a bit interesting. So with that, if you have any comments, leave them down below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on my team, how I could improve, maybe some things you liked about the team. If you did like it as well, I really appreciate leaving a like and subscribe or sharing with a friend. It helps me grow out so much, and I really do appreciate that. And with that, I hope you have a fantastic day and take care, everyone.